Hey guys, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, here today to put together our Christmas 3D project kit featuring 3 different projects. We're going to make this sleigh here. This is a tonic die. We are going to make a little sleeve for a glassine bag, and we are going to make this 3D frame. This is a Sizzix die. So, this is the kit, and in your kit you also get instructions, pictures of the finished project, a few pictures to help you along the way. Hopefully you're watching this video if you have a kit to put together, because I think you'll be able to follow along better with a video than me trying to write instructions for this kind of project. So we are going to start, I believe the instructions start with the sleeve. So this one here. We'll get out our goodies. You're going to have lots of little bits in there. You also have this really small piece. This is the dot for your J, so I don't want to lose that. So we're going to start by building the sleeve. So you have a paper that doesn't quite look like this. Yours is fully, I kind of use this as an example in class. But it's going to be folded in half, and what you need to do is go ahead and fold on the 2 long score lines that are there and reinforce those. I think I forgot my bone folder. Yeah. Okay. And then what you want to do is we are going to cut off the tab on the non-embossed side. So I'm just going to take some straight edge scissors and just trim that part off up to the score line, and then I'm going to slightly angle my cut like so that you're going to end up with a piece that looks like that. And we do that so that when we fold these in and fold it up, they don't get caught. So then what you're going to do is put adhesive on these 2 tabs here, and then we're going to close the sleeve shut. So let me find my glue. All right, I've got glue on both sides, and then I'm just going to close that shut and press. Okay, so we have our pocket together, and I can see here maybe I didn't cut so straight, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim that off. And then now, if you wish, we're going to ink it up a little bit. So I guess I could bring my finished project over here so you can see it. I'm going to take the bag out because it's full of stuff, so maybe it'll lay flat so you can kind of see. But so you can kind of see I inked it. I've gathered twigs and a dauber. Oh, that's really dark. I think I must have used a blending brush with the one I'm doing there. So let's see if I can soften that up a little bit. Lucky for me, it's a tree ring, and it gets lighter as you go in. So I'm just gonna ink the whole thing then. All right, so now we are going to put on your wrap. So you have a wrap that looks like this. It's a printed green on green holly print. I'm just going to use green cardstock today. So your paper is folded in half. It's a 3 by 12 piece folded in half. And you are going to put your pocket into it like so. And then I'm going to flip it over and then fold this. And I did want to create a score line because this is kind of, it's got some bulk to it. It's not an, you know, the fold line isn't like this one. And so that's why I didn't score it. But anyway, so it's going to look like that. And then it matches up. So you can take a trimmer, or if you want to just cut it with scissors, whatever you want to do. I am going to use a trimmer. So I'm just going to mark where I want to trim. Tuck that in my trimmer real quick. And then what I'm going to do, and then obviously if you wanted to ink the back so that matched, you could. But then I'm going to glue that together. So now we have a wrap on our couch. I am going to add some ink because I feel that looks kind of funny. So I may just ink the edges. This dauber is super inky. I did just fill my ink pad. That's probably what it is. Kind of forgot I did that. And I really inked it up. So that's good. So now it kind of matches the front. All right. So I'm not actually gluing it to the sleeve. I mean, you could if you wanted, but I'm just going to glue the wrap on. If you wanted to slide it off, you could. Some glue down. There we go. You could ink this green piece if you wanted. I'm not sure that I did, but you certainly could. So there's that. And so now let's deal with some of these little pieces in here. So you obviously have the word joy, and that's going to go on the bottom of your tag. But we have some greenery, a pine cone, and a flower. So let's start with the pine cone. And so for this, the solid portion of the pine cone, I'm just going to use my brown ink and ink the whole surface so that it's darker. And then I'm just going to kind of go around the edges of the other piece. And then I'm going to glue this one onto the solid piece. All right, there's the pine cone, and then you have this branch with some berries. So what I'm going to do is, the berries are probably upside down. You can kind of tell one side's rough, one side's smooth. You want the smooth side up. And I'm going to keep those on my Post-it tape, and then I'm going to bring in some Sizzix luster wax. And this is in silver. So I got a little jar here. And we're going to use a eye makeup sponge. And I'm just going to go in there and kind of put some of it on there. And then just rub it over the berries. And this will change my berries from the craft to silver. And obviously I could have cut those berries out of silver, but this particular die from Tim Holtz cuts this branch and all the berries at once. And so we just found a creative way to make them silver. So now I'm going to glue those berries on to the branch. those are on. I'm just going to come back in. Add a little more there. All right, and then if you want, I'm going to take a little bit of the brown and just touch the edges of the greenery. And finally, we have this is a poinsettia, and I have some bundled sage distress ink, and I'm just going to lightly get the edges of this poinsettia. So I've got a sponge dauber, just a little bit of ink. This can be dark or it can be light if you want it. All right, that should be good. And then I'm going to layer up these pieces. So the way I did it was I started with the big solid piece on the bottom. Then I'm going to add this piece with 3 layers. And you could play around. I mean, there's really no right or wrong here. I'm just going to try to make it where they're all offset. There we go. And then I'm going to use this little one. Like so. And then I'm going to put a foam square on the back of this one. And put that one on top. I'm just playing around. I did not think at all when I laid it down because you could go crazy. This is supposed to be wonky. It's I think it's Festive Floral by Tim Holtz, so it's not supposed to look uniform. All right, so we're gonna finish off with 3 pearls in the center of our flower. So 1, 2, and 3. All right. All right, so let's go to our tag. So we got a white tag, the word joy, and a tag topper. So I'm gonna put the tag topper on, and the longer end goes at the top. And then we'll put the word joy on. And that's just going to go at the bottom. And then somewhere I kept my little dot, so I'll put that on. If you lose your dot, you can use a rhinestone or really could leave it off. You can see on mine fell off and you can still tell what it's trying to say. All right, so your glassine bag goes inside the sleeve, like so. And then I'm just gonna show on mine, I have some of this paper confetti. You can get it at dollar store. I put in a cocoa mix and a candy cane and an ornament that all fit inside. A gift card would be fun. Candy. I'm sure like a Hershey's bar would probably fit really nice in there. Whatever you want to do. Put that back in there. All right. So now we're going to put our tag onto the sleeve, but let's do our let's do this first. So you have a piece of green tulle ribbon, and I want you to cut it in half. So fold it in half, cut it in half, and one of them, you should have 2 jingle bells. I only have 1. I bought these at the Dollar Tree, and the package said there were 32 inside. They lied. There was only 31. So I'm just going to put 1 on mine. But what you're going to do is twist the ends, and there's a little loop at the top. and you're just gonna shove it through. And you do kind of got to get it tight. Like if you have tweezers or a craft pick, you should be able to stick it through there. It's a big hole. There we go. And then I'm going to grab, what did I do with the other one? So I'm going to take both of them, put them through the hole, and just tie a knot. And you kind of have to be careful with the tool. You don't want to pull it too, it starts to lose its shape, or if you pull it too tight when you're messing with it. So I'm going to pull that nice and tight, and then these will kind of just hang off like so. You can trim off edges if you want them, or just leave it be. Okay, and then that's going to go on. So here you can decide if you want to pop it up or just glue it straight down. I had some low profile foam I think I used on this one, but I'm just going to glue it down, and I'm only going to glue it to the I'm only going to glue it, I'm just going to kind of come in with lines. I'm only going to glue it to the wrap, just in case I want to pull that wrap off later. I can. So just like so. And I just got a little bit of ink on my white tag. My fingers are dirty. Okay, so let's go ahead and just layer up our greenery and florals, and we will be done with this project. So I'm going to put some glue here, and this one is kind of peeking out like so. And then we have this big long one. That. And the smaller branch is going to come down there. You got the flower, pine cone, and the little berry branch. All right, so I was finishing up this project here, and my camera cut out. So I think where I left off, I was tucking in the greenery pieces, the pine cone, and then the berry branches are right in there. And that really was gonna finish off this project. It's the next day for me, so I can't quite remember what all I did, but I'm pretty sure it cut off right where I was tucking all this stuff in. So that does complete this project. So what we're going to do next is this Merry and Bright shadow box. And I had already built this frame, but it didn't record, so we're going to do it again. So no problem, I can use that for something. So that's why some of my things are done here and some are not. So we are going to start with these 4 pieces here. They kind of look like houses, and they have score lines on them. So I'm going to shove all that off to the side. I'm going to get out my bone folder, and I'm just going to start folding on those lines and reinforcing, giving them good sharp edges. So I will do that in all 4. You have 2 shorter ones and 2 longer ones. All right, so I've scored all of these pieces, and I folded all the lines in, and what we're going to do is create 4 tubes. So on each panel there is a thinner tab, and this is where we're going to place adhesive, and then we're going to close this onto it to get that to seal. So I'm going to get out my glue. I'll just start with this one here. So I like to lay it in front of me with the tab. I'm looking right at the tab. I'm going to put glue on it. And then I'm just going to leave that flat. I'm gonna fold up so it looks like this, okay? And then I'm just gonna fold this one down onto it and hold it for a minute. Make sure the glue gets a good seal. And then what you end up with is this tube, nice and square. So trying to glue it and hold it like this, you may not get you could get slightly crooked. So I would suggest gluing it flat and then popping it open. So I'm gonna repeat that on all 4 of these pieces. So I end up with 4 tubes. All right, I have my 4 little tubes made here, and we're going to grab a long one and a short one to get started with our frame. And so the way this works is you have this open end and there is a tab on each one, so you may want to fold that in. I know when they taught me how to make it, they had me glue that in on the inside, but I actually like to use it to help hold it together, and you'll see why. So that could obviously be a choice for you. This is a Sizzix shadow box frame, so if you want to see maybe why they think that's necessary, you can look, but I like to put glue on there so that it catches there, because the only other place you put glue is on the insides of these, and so I just feel like that's an extra place for it to hold. So what happens is you have the frame looking at you with the angle pointing out and the open end down, and then you want this piece to have the angle facing in towards your frame, and then the square end goes inside like so, okay? And then your next one, keeping that so it's going towards, you know, the end. You never want it to be outside or you're not going to be able to continue your frame. And then the next one fits in and so on. So let's start with this. So what I like to do is I'm going to put glue on that little tab, and then I'm going to put glue, so like half of that's going to go inside. I'm just going to put a little here and a little there. You could also put it on the inside. It's kind of hard with that tab. Okay, so it's going to go in like so. So making sure this is pointing inside, and you're going to tuck it in there and push it in so it's nice and square, and then I'm just going to hold it like this until I know it's good and dry. And this step is important. You don't want to get impatient with your glue. This is dries clear glue. It dries very quickly and it's very strong. And so you could also use score tape here, but you have no wiggle room. But that's entirely up to you. But what you don't want to do is leave it where it's not dry and it's wiggling, and when you're putting in the other piece it starts to come out. You don't want that. So take your time and make sure it is nice and locked in there. You don't want a huge gap here. Okay, and once you feel like that's good, I feel like that's good and glued, I'm going to go with the next piece. So now I need the long one again. And again, I'm going to have my angle pointing out, and make sure my angle at the bottom is pointing in, and it'll slide in like so. Now, as long as you're making sure that everything's nice and tight up here, you should continue to make a square box. If you're worried that maybe you're not, you should have a large craft rectangle piece that you could kind of use as a guide to make sure that everything's holding in. But really, once you put all the pieces together, it really pulls it in tight as a square. You can also use your grid lines here so you can see that it's a little, but once I tuck this in, it pulls it in. So just make sure that there's not a big gap here and you'll be good to go. So now I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to put glue here, and then a little bit up here in the corners, and then I'm going to slide it in. All right, that one is dried up. So now, oops, see, it wasn't, and I just moved it. There we go. But see how it's coming out, and I don't want it to do that, so I'm gonna So now I'm going to put in this last one. So this one will go in here, and that one tucks in there. So this one's the trickiest one, but you're basically doing the same thing. You're just doing both, kind of both ends at once. Okay. And then you'll have a nice tight frame once it's all together. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on these. I'm going to put some glue on the inside this time so I don't have a glue mess everywhere. All right, so we're going to tuck this one in. It's tight. That one's tight. And I will just hold it until it is dry. Okay, so I feel good about my frame. It's nice and tight. The ends are closed, and I'm going to set that aside. So you should have, like I said, I already started this, so yours won't look like this. You should have a white piece of cardstock that's been embossed. And what I did was take some Gathered Twigs Distress ink and a dauber, and I just lightly went over the embossing to kind of, so you can see it a little bit better and distress it a little. And I lightened up as I went towards the center. Once I was done with that, I placed that onto this craft cardstock. I just centered it. It doesn't have to be perfect because it is going to be the back of our frame. So we have a nice closed image back there. So what we're going to do is, and you can use wet glue here or score tape or however you want to do it, but we are going to flip over our frame. And a lot of times I feel like you have a good side and a bad side. So like all my corners are closed here and it looks nice. On this side, not so much. So it's going to be the back and we're going to cover it up. I'm going to flip that over, and then this piece is going to go right onto the back. So I'm going to put glue on the edges of this. And I want it right up to the edge because I want a good seal on the back. So score tape might be good here too, unless you have something heavy too. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some on here as well, just so we get a good hold. Okay. And I'm just going to lay that straight down, center it back there, and give it a good press on the edges. So if you have something heavy to place on top of this, maybe a book or something, that might be a good idea. I found what I had to do was go kind of back through, and the pieces that were popping up, just tuck in some glue and press it in until it was all sealed. I got my frame all put together, the back is on, and so now we're going to look for the words merry and bright. They are silver. You have the dot for your eye, it should be there, so it's on a little piece of Post-it like that. And so this is why we waited to put the merry and bright on. It's kind of hard being inside the frame, but making sure it fit in there was more important. Because if you glued it to the white and you didn't have it all the way in there, you'd be cutting it off. So now you're just gonna place that in there the way you want it. You also have the and sign, which you could put it over here. I have mine here. So I'm just gonna get some tweezers and hold on to that, put some glue on it and put them down. Okay. So that is good. Now we're going to move on to our greenery. We'll just set that aside and we'll pull in the rest of our, you know what I forgot before I lose it. Let me put my little dot to my eye. It is craft on one side and silver on the other. Come on. There we go. Now we won't lose that. Looks like I've lost mine on my sample there. But anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to all. So you obviously have some greenery. You can ink the edges with brown if you wish. So I'm going to do that quickly, since we kind of inked everything else. That's the other thing, is to, oh my gosh, this thing is so inky, I keep forgetting. Ink the edges of your frame if you want to. Trying to soften that up a little bit. There we go. All right, that should be good. And then I'll go ahead and do these greenery pieces. Okay, and while I have the brown out, you have these 2 pine cones, and you can tell mine have backings in them. And so this is the way the die cuts, but I'm gonna go ahead and like glue this to the back. But what I did is just ink this strip so it's darker. Okay. And then I'll just go around the edges of each pine cone. Okay. And then I'm going to glue this onto here and trim around the excess. And so then I'm just going to take some scissors and just trim around. I kind of tuck my scissors in behind it so that I don't want to see the double edge, but that's just me. So there's one. Oh, I can see a little bit of it right there. And then the other. The pine cones are done. You have this strip of silver, and I'm going to show you what that's for. It's a very small detail, so you could skip it if you wanted. On my greenery here, I don't know if you can tell, behind these little openings in the berries, I put the silver. So I'm just going to cut actually I think I'm going to cut it in half in 2 little squares. I'll probably have to trim off the excess. All right, and then I'm just going to trim off that excess, cut it a little too big. Okay. And then finally we have this flower, this poinsettia. And so I'm going to take some bundled sage like we did with the last one and just go around the edges lightly. And this is a light color, so it's hard if you don't want to be heavy-handed, and it's hard to tell that you're even putting color until you lay it against. So I can tell I have plenty on there. And you can obviously go darker if you want. And I'm just going to kind of swirl around the outsides. I'm not really adding any more ink to my dauber. Okay. And then what we're going to do is you have these 4 pieces here. These are supposed to be your flower centers. They are green. You also have more of those over here that are craft on the back. Those are silver. I'm going to use those as like holly berries. So if you decide you don't want green centers, maybe you want silver, then you could lose the holly berries and use the silver center instead. I did pop up this. I'm going to put one in the center. And then there's really no right or wrong. I think I kind of look at the okay. No, I don't like that. These are Tim Holtz. And his stuff's a little wonky, and sometimes it's hard to get it to line up. I'm going to look at mine. Let's see, I have it like that. There we go. So where there's 1, 2, 3, there's kind of 1, 2, 3. That's kind of where it lines up for me personally, where I think it looks good. And then let me put the centers on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the same way. I am just putting them on. So it doesn't look like I did there, but it looks all right. Okay, so all of our pieces are ready to go. So we are going to assemble. So our big flower's up here. And then we have, so I don't know if you can tell, you have a light and a dark. The light one goes down here. The dark one goes up there. The branch with the little berries and the larger pine branch come here. And then you have a light and dark of these as well. So the light one's going to go up here. And then everything else is down here. So that holly goes there, and then your 2 pine cones. So I have one glued in front of the other, so I'm going to do that first. And then that'll tuck in behind. I do believe this is popped up on mine. I'm just gonna glue that on, and this. Okay, and then these. And then I'm trying not to cover up so that I could still read my words, so those look good. On that all just fell off, awesome. Okay. And then I'm gonna put some small foam wherever I can fit it. There and there. Just place that over. That looks good. So there's that corner. And then up here, we had all of this. Okay. So let's, got my flower right here. And I think, I'm trying to see if I popped it up. I did. So I'm just going to put a small one in the center so I can tuck stuff, and then I can go back and add more if I want. So there's where I want my flower. And this piece is here, and then the shorter branch is behind that. All right. The little berries. All right, so I've got those 4 little holly pieces. or the like berries. I'm just gonna put 1, 2. So let's put a big one right there, and a smaller. Go. And I've got another one. Oh my goodness. These are giving me fits. There we go. And I'm just gonna see if I can sneak that one in there. Wrong lid. There we go. I'm going to toss this big one. You could use it if you wanted, maybe on the other side. I'm just going to leave it be. All right, so that looks good. The finishing touch would be the glitter on the leaves. So you can see here, I had a little bit on the pine cones and all the, not the leaves, but the greenery. So what I used was the Paperlicious frosting powder, like this. And so I'm just going to take my glue and just touch. It's gonna start, there it goes. And just grab some of the edges. I'm going to do my best to keep it out of the frame. I mean, I can get it out of there, but it's... All right, so there's that. And then when this glue dries, it dries clear, so then you'll just be left with the glitter. You could have also put all this glue on to your greenery pieces before you glued them on as well, but and then I'm pretty sure that I put some on the centers. All right, so that project is complete. So our last project is going to be this beautiful sleigh. Don't mind the back side. Yours will be decorated on both sides. And I have some candies, quite a substantial amount, and so this is nice and sturdy. Yours doesn't come with the candy, but it does come with the bag and everything you need for the tag. So that's what we're gonna make. So I think I'll lay it on its side so you can kind of see what we're doing. Get out the kit. All right, so there's the bag I was talking about. So I'm just gonna set that to the side. What I'm after are these two pieces. So you should have the two sled bases, or like the sides, and then we're gonna call this the base. So everything else we don't need right now. These pieces. And so I said in class, if you can see, like you can see here that I distressed it. I used ink on it, but then I put the white on it and you can't even tell. So I'm not going to waste my time with it. If you want it to look distressed from the inside, then you can certainly, you could take some ink and do the inside. It's up to you. You won't see a lot of it, just really the top. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You have the two sled pieces, or the side pieces, and they have these long tabs on them. We're going to glue one tab to the other. It's as easy as that. So put glue on one. All right. We got the glue on there. We're just going to stick one right on top of the other. Okay. And then what we're going to do is, this is your base piece, so it should have come, and then what you need to do is fold in on those score marks. And then you have lines there, so everything all gets folded in the same direction again, like so. And we're going to create the inside base like so. So what you do is you're going to put, I'm just going to start with one side, and I'm going to put adhesive. So you can use score tape or glue tape, score tape or wet glue. Wet glue obviously gives you wiggle room, so that's going to be what I use today. But I like to keep in mind that, like, when I do the folding, that these angles here, that's as tight as I want it to get. Like, I don't want to do this. So that kind of alignment, like so, works pretty good, okay? And I'm going to start by putting adhesive just on the middle one. No, actually I'll put it on all of them. But I'm going to focus on the middle. So it's hard to hold now. And so what you're going to do is just lay it right down onto that. So I'm going to turn around so I can see what I'm doing. And so you just want to make sure that when you're lining it up, that it stays inside the sled, okay? So I'm going to get as close to the edge and close to the top on this side that I can. And then I want that to be straight. So I'm going to line that up so it's straight. And then the other one will just curve up and get as tight as I can there as well. And once I'm happy with the placement, I'll move it a little bit, it's not quite straight. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure everything's pressed on good and dried. Nobody's going to see all that glue on the inside. Okay, so that's what it looks like. All right, there are no true markings other than you don't want to go where these tabs go past this flourish, or you're going to be able to see it through the front. So you just don't want to be able to see any part of that from the front. So just slightly tucked in, just enough. So I hope you can see that. Okay. And then you're going to lay it down, and we're going to put glue on these sides, and we're just going to fold up the other end of the sled. It's really easy, and it's very forgiving. As long as you keep the similar spacing and make sure this is, so I like to do it and then like this. And you can play with it here, but you want to make sure that your sled bottom is straight, if that makes sense. So these pieces both touch the ground, and then you can worry about if it's where you want it. It looks scarier than it is. Oops, that piece moved on me. There we go. All right, and there it is, your cute little sled. The possibilities are endless once you have this part done. This really is easy to go together. So, all right, so now we're going to decorate it. So next you should have two large white outlines, okay, one for each side. And you can notice some of them might have some of this, the tab left that's from this bottom piece. And so I'm just going to trim it off with scissors. And while this sled was made to be 3D, if you just trim off those tabs like so, you could put this on a card. Well, it's kind of nice. But so what we're going to do is put that white outline right on top. All right. it on there just like so. All right, so there's that piece. Make sure it's on there good. And then I'm going to do one side, then we'll flip and do the other. So then you should have a green piece that fits like a puzzle on the inside. So we're going to put that on. Perfect. And then you'll have this green outline that will go right on top. Now, in your kit, you'll have another strip of silver. So I'll show you on mine. You can see that the stars are shiny. And so what I did was cut out little squares to put behind the stars so that they were shiny on the side. You can obviously just leave it be. You could add glitter on those insides if you want, or just not fuss with it at all. I like the look of that, gives a little bit more detail. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and cut up. I'm gonna cut up the middle for the smaller ones and just cut little tiny squares. They don't really, and then I'm gonna cut a few bigger ones. So I have some pieces cut. I'm just going to go in and put glue around. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars. All right, so that's what it looks like when it's finished. Like I said, it's a detail, it's kind of fussy, so if you don't want to deal with it, you don't have to. And then once those are on, I'm going to go ahead and glue this piece down. All right, so there is what the side of the sled's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that same process on the back side. All right, so I've got both sides of my sled put together, and now we're going to add in the details on the inside. So you have 2 white pieces, a kind of tag looking one that's obviously going to go on the back of your, like I call it the seat, and then this is going to go on the front. So I'll glue both of those on. All right, so I got both of those. So now you have 3 pieces to go with your tag. You have the silver solid piece, you have the top, and then I've cut it out of green so that you can see I cut out the Merry & Bright and put it over the craft. I did pop up this piece. I'm just going to put foam around. So I am pulling off the backing, and I'm going to put this craft tag on top of the silver solid tag. You can see a little bit of my foam. I'm going to snip that off. All right. Okay. And then if you want to do the Merry & Bright, I just went in with scissors and snipped straight across that inside. Just on all 4 sides, you'll have to make a cut. And then you're left with the Merry & Bright. And I'm going to glue that onto the craft. right, so that's what that looks like. All right, so the tag is ready. I am going to glue on. I have this little holly outline. All right. And that is going to go on the inside of the solid holly piece. This is also this tag, and all this is all part of this tonic die set. Cute little hollies. And then you have a post-it tape with 3 little green pieces. Those are your holly berries. And so we're going to inlay them back inside of that. But first, I want mine to be silver. So I'm going to come back in. I flipped them all over onto that post-it. And I'm going to come back in with this luster wax and cover up the berries. This paper is textured, so I want to try to get it in there. All right, that looks good. And then I'm going to lay those in. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue inside of each spot. There we go, very pretty. And then what I did, I am gonna ink this tag up a little because it looks just too light for me. Once I've inked everything else. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to take a small piece of foam and put it in the back of those berries, and then I have my tag, or my hollies, kind of like so on the tag. I still want to read Merry and Bright, and I still want to be able to get to the hole of the tag. And so then you have some tulle, and I'm going to twist that again, put it through the hole. All right, like so. And so the way I have mine is I put it through like that, and then when I tied the twine around my bag, I tied it around that. So you could also use this for now, since we don't have any treats to put inside. And then you can tie a bow. You could do it just like that and use something else to tie up your bag, and then just glue this on. Okay, so this little bag, you can tie that around with that twine, stick that inside, and you will be good to go. And that completes that project. That also completes our video. So I hope you enjoyed these last minute Christmas projects we made here. If you're interested in a kit, you can find us at www.frommomentstomilestones.com and search for our kits there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.